and get started at this point. Again, thank you so much for joining today's Customer Success webinar series. Getting started with Prisma Access BPA, Prisma Access Best Practice Assessment. I wanted to give everyone a quick recap of what to expect in the next 60 minutes today. So we will go ahead and get started today with an introduction to the BPA. We will then move on with why run BPA, moving on to Prisma Access BPA, how to run and generate the Prisma Access BPA report, understand the results of the Prisma Access BPA report, transition to best practices, and we will end today's session with a Q&A session. A quick reminder to please enter your questions on our Q&A chat box so that we can make sure that we answer your questions by the end of today's webinar. Also, I wanted to give everyone a quick reminder of our upcoming webinars. Getting started with Prisma Access Part 4, onboarding the service for remote networks branch offices, which will be happening on Wednesday, March 31st at 2 p.m. Pacific time. And then our Deep Dive Insights 2.0 on Wednesday, April 7 at 2 p.m. Pacific time. I also wanted to take a quick moment to introduce today's Prisma Access Customer Success tour guides, starting with our Prisma Access Customer Success managers, including myself, Wendy, and Anil, followed by our Prisma Access Customer Success engineer, Karam, and also our Prisma Access Product Management, Sam Stowe. And also, I wanted to let everyone know that all of this documentation that you will be seeing today is available on our live community and tech docs. You can easily access those. We will be entering links to that on our chat box as well, so that you can easily access those if you don't have access to that as well. I will go ahead and hand this over to my colleague who will go over introduction to the best practice assessment.
Thank you, Wendy. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another exciting webinar of Prisma Access Best Practice Assessment. Today, we'll be discussing about what is best practice assessment, why we are running it, and specifically talk about the Prisma Access BPA, some of the features, and how to transition to the best practice. What is BPA? Best practice assessment is a tool which used Panorama's tech support file and analyze Panoramas and the Prisma Access configurations. It gives you the current state of best practices, security adoption, and also suggests and recommends specific changes which are needed to align with the security best practices. This tool gives you understanding how to improve and where to improve security posture. It provides you a baseline of comparison and shows you how you transition to best practices. Why we are running the best practice assessment? According to Gartner's research, 99% of breaches through 2023 will be due to misconfigurations. Companies typically implement all the basic capabilities, but they neglect or postpone setting up many features to maximize their protection. This tool gives you visibility with advanced security controls. You can create a roadmap for increased threat prevention and improve your security operations over time. Security best practices reduce the attack surface, increased visibility into the traffic, prevent known and unknown attacks, protect what's the most valuable for your business, proprietary source code, sensitive company and customer data, critical infrastructure. So this is the complete flow of transition to the best practices. You will generate a BPA report, evaluate your security policy capability adoption based on the outcome of those reports, evaluate your best practice configuration, and then prioritize the change of best practice changes and implement these changes. and then run BPA again to measure the progress and prioritize the next set of security improvements. Prisma Access Best Practice Assessment. Earlier, it was BPA was only available for our next generation firewall platform, and most of you who are already have on-prem next generation firewall, they have been utilizing this tool and leveraging for the best practice assessment. But this is now specifically for the Prisma Access. Also, the same way you can use the tech support file from your Panorama and generate the BPA. This Prisma Access BPA I'll be talking about specifically for Panorama managed Prisma Access. This report guide the youth and to improve this security posture. A report can be generated using Panorama tech support file, and it processes the configuration needed to address Prisma Access features. It focuses on tracking features, the adoption, security posture, and features those are associated with Prisma Access. This Prisma Access BPA report will give you the ability to track the best practices and also provides recommendation, trending summary, graphs at per tenant level. It processes the device groups, template stacks that are configured in the Prisma Access configurations. Let's have a look into the Prisma Access BPA report feature. What are the feature? What are the details you will be getting as a part of this report? Heat map. There are two sections of this report. If you can see here, the best practice assessment and adoption heat maps. In these two sections, you will get the details at per tenant level. You can pick, if you are running a multi-tenant environment, you can pick the tenant and get more granular information and the Prisma Access deployment type, either it's a service connection, mobile user, remote network, or branch network, or you can select all also. So you can track adoption of Heatmap Trending over a period of time at each tenant level. Summary graphs with the compliance framework also shows at a per tenant level, which made the security compliance framework such as NIST, CIS, and others at each tenant level. Each tenant may have its own business case to implement certain security capabilities, which you can select a tenant here and compare the capability summary and see where the compliance and the industry standards are. The mapping definition tab results here for every best practice check at per. So ability to view BP at individual tenant level. As I mentioned in one of the previous slides, this BP report gives you the more granular control. Earlier, when you were running for the next gen firewall, all the information were based on the device, per device. Now you have per tenant level that information, which gives you ability to go to the more granular at a tenant level. How to generate Prisma Access BPA report. You can generate the BPA using customer support portal. But before running the report, make sure that you have proper roles assigned in the CSP. As a super user, you can run the BPA, but you can assign the BPA user role to the standard user's profile also. How you can assign the BPA user role to the standard user, log in into your customer support portal, click on the manage users, and it will show you the list of users. Click on any one of the standard users on this pencil icon and add the BPA user role assigned to this user. You'll see that now the standard user has this BPA user privileges. When the standard user will log into the customer support portal under the tools section, this user will be able to see that the best practice assessment tool is available in the CSP. Generate and download the BPA report. How to do that? You need to generate or import Panorama's tech support file. Drag and drop the tech support file here in this section. This step is kind of optional. You have to map each zones of the area to the area of the architecture. You can skip this step also. Then generate and download this report. You can see at the two sections, one is your industry section, your organization or the company belong to which industry. This field is auto-populated. Once you will select your drag and drop your tech support file, this field will be auto-populated, but if you want, you can change it also. And from the report type, select Prisma Access from the drop-down menu. When a Panorama TSF tech support file is uploaded to generate the BPA, BPA service will look for the plugin configurations to validate if the Prisma Access configuration is configured. Based on that, it will provide the Prisma Access BPA report. Then, as soon as you click to generate the report, it will show you here the summary, executive summary, informs you that detailed HTML report is able to download. You can click and automatically download to your computer. Now, you have successfully generated and downloaded your BPA report. Now let's have a look how to identify and prioritize best practices. Check adoption of key security capabilities. Adoption summary in the heatmap section, it shows you your adoption of key security capabilities, which includes Wi-Fi, antivirus, anti-spyware, DNS sinkhole, vulnerability protection, URL filtering, file blocking, data filtering. And this section, the learn more, if you click on this learn more drop down, it will give you some of those useful links, the BPA training videos. If you want to learn more about the BPA trainings, the transition to the best practices, some of those tech docs videos, you can click any of those links here and you will get the details. So this result shows the configuration meets or exceeds the industry average adoption for wildfire, antivirus, and all the other security capabilities. The results also shows that the configuration does not come up to the industry's average adoption of certain profiles. You see here the comparison, industry's average adoption with the best practice and overall adoption. And this trending page gives you the overall adoption of logging capabilities and industry's average adoption of logging. If the profile and the logging results shows that your adoption of all security capabilities meet your industry's average, then you can check. Also, one thing to mention here, if you're running a multiple iterations, then this trending section will also show you what are the results from your previous BPA reports and what are the current, and you can do a comparison. Evaluate security policy capabilities. The adoption summary view provides an overview of the overall adoptions. Overall adoption is the adoption of security profile in security policy allow rules, and these percentages are based on the number of allow rules that have one or more profiles enabled. We will be doing a quick walkthrough to a BPA report in the last section. So please, if you have any difficulty reading through all this, then you can get more visibility when we're doing a walkthrough and each section of the report. Industry's average adoption of security profiles in allow rules for your company's industry. And the best practice mode adoption of security profile configured in the recommended best practice manner in allow rules. BPA only counts rules with profiles that pass all the best practice checks. Identify gaps in adoption. The heat map shows where your security policy is strong and where there are gaps in security policy capability adoption, where you can focus on improving. To gain maximum visibility to traffic and maximum protection against attacks, set goals for security capability adoption and use the recommendation as a best practice baseline. Assess your current posture against the baseline to identify the gaps in security policy capability adoption. Heat maps help to identify devices, zones, and areas where you can improve security policy capability. Identify rules to improve. After you identify the gap in security policy capability adoption, use the rule details section, which will give you the view to list of rules that require further investigation or remediation. Evaluate your best practice configuration. As I mentioned earlier, there are two sections of the reports, heat maps and the best practice assessments. So when you change the view from the heat maps to best practice assessments, you can see the best practice summary. This summary represents best practice configuration check results mapped to the control categories of the industry standards, such as CIS, NIST. The purpose of this information is to provide a good way to learn how BPA checks tie to the industry standard, not to act as an audit. Like the adoption summary, the best practice summary includes metrics that shows your current adoption rate and adoption progress. You can click on the mapping definitions on the left side. There are and see the individual scores, which there are some filters. You can apply the filters and see the output also, and you can export as well. See here, the mapping definition I talked about shows a complete list of all the map checks to their individual scores. Review the best practice policy configurations. Click on the best practice assessment and click on the security rule check, which displays a rule-based checks. Here is a question mark. If you click on here, it will give you the description and rationale of each check. What does that mean and what's doing, along with the link of technical documentation and capability of each check. The rule-based checks summarizes the best practice checks results by device groups with the pass-fail status. If you see that if some of the check is failing, it's mentioned fail, and underneath it's a recommendation also. For example, enters or deny rule with logging is failing here, and underneath the recommendation is there. It's recommended to override the enter zone default rule with any actions. Disable rule check is passed, so there is no recommendation here. Review the best practice object configurations. The object tab shows all the checks that relate to different types of firewall or Prisma Access objects. You can select a deployment type, Prisma Access deployment type. From here, if you want to look, if you have only MUs or RN, you can pick up or choose what information you want to look. And for each profile, the report shows the current configurations and how many rules have been used. When you review the Object tab, at a minimum, review the antivirus, anti-spyware, vulnerability protection, log forwarding, and wildfire. Network type shows all the checks for network-related configurations. If you navigate on the left side of section of this report where zones and global protect, all the information is there. You can review and understand existing configurations to identify the potential gap in the best practice configuration related to zone, which are related to the zones, global protect, IPsec crypto, zone protection profiles. Each check has a pass fail status and some of the recommendations if it's failing. Device tab shows all the checks related to device management. Each check has a pass fail status and recommendations for the failed checks. Panorama tab shows all the checks related to the device management configurations. You can review and understand what are the gaps and um, plan for those gaps. For example, here, security checks, host name, logging banner, automatically acquire commit logs. All these are the management related on the Panorama side. How to prioritize the best practice changes? Let's talk about it. Prioritize the improvement to your configuration so you can close the security gaps. Strengthen posture. Strengthen your device management posture. You can strengthen device posture secures by preventing unauthorized access that could compromise it. Follow the best practices for securing administrative access. Forward all system and configuration logs to the Panorama, CDL. Create a configuration backup schedule, and then run this report again. You can't protect yourself against threats you can't see. So you must ensure you have a full visibility. So improve your visibility into traffic. Maximize security profile adoptions. Identify the gaps in adoption. Remediate the gaps using safe transition to steps to move forward towards the full best practice. Configure best practices for the dynamic content updates. After you gain the full visibility, implement initial best practice controls. Review adoption summary. Follow the safe transition steps. Move toward the best practice security profiles, including implementation and strict control in the data centers. After you implement the control over your network traffic, application, content, implement additional functionality to improve your security posture. Fine-tune your controls and implement additional functionality to improve your security posture. Transition to the best practices. Security profiles enable you to inspect traffic for threats such as vulnerability, exploits, malware, and even unknown threats, and prevent them from compromising your network using various types of threat signatures. The end goal is to reach a best practice state for all your security profiles. However, to ensure the availability, sorry, was someone saying? Okay. However, to ensure the availability of business critical applications, it may not be feasible to implement a full best practice security profile configuration. In most cases, you can safely block some signature files and protocols while alerting or others until you gain information and confidence to finish safe transition to the best practice without affecting availability. So create some application-specific policies to enable safe access. Application-based security policy using the app ID. That's about it for the BPA. And now we will do a quick walkthrough. I will hand over to Shamsod, Senior Product Manager, who will give you a quick walkthrough Prisma Access BPA report.
Okay, thanks, Quorum. I think that was a good walkthrough at a very high level and detail as to the new features and capabilities of Prisma Access BPA and the value and its differentiation, right? I just want to quickly take us through the reason we had to create a BPA report for Prisma Access is fundamentally because we knew that if we're calculating every possible template stack and device group in the world of Prisma Access, then we're not providing the accurate results, because on a Panorama we may have multi-device groups, multi-template stacks, and we just wanted to focus on scoring for Prisma Access just that is relevant for Prisma Access configuration. So we ensured that we only calculate the device groups and template stacks and its respective configuration for Prisma Access that's being used for Prisma Access from a Panorama, and the remaining device groups and template stacks are excluded. That's why it's very accurate results that is to be consumed or learned from Prisma Access BPA report. That's the primary differentiation. That said, we've added a completely new feature called a global filter. Until now, we had local filters. Now, what a global filter does is a global filter is wherein a value selected here will convert the whole of the BPA report into the selected filter criteria. So to take an example here, right now we're looking at the sample BPA report, and we're under the BPA summary. This is where we look at the security controls framework, such as NIST security controls, Center for Internet Security, critical security controls, and so on. Right now, we're looking at a Panorama managing tens and hundreds of firewalls, and we're looking at the adoption. Just by looking at this, I'm not sure which of my firewalls are doing great, which of my firewalls are not doing great, which of my tenants are doing great or not, and so on. So we went ahead and gave the per tenant granularity. And as I select a value, meaning as I select one or more tenants, the data dynamically changes. And the whole of the report is selected for these two tenants only. So I selected two tenants, and I'm seeing the results for just those two tenants for all the security control framework. Similarly, in this phase, if I move on to a different section, such as URL filtering, I can easily see the data only to the two tenants that I've selected, nothing more. Similarly, if I go to the adoption heat map, let's go to summary and trending here. You can see that I've selected the two tenants, and that is persistent. And I'm looking at data only for those two tenants. I'm not looking at all the data and all the firewalls from a Panorama, but I'm just looking at those two tenants. So the beauty here is we can track the trending, we can track the security control frameworks, we can track the progress, all of these at individual tenant level, which is the new addition to Prisma Access BPA report. Under BPA summary, we also have mapping definitions where we define all the possible best practice checks here. And here, at the same time, we also have the ability to select one or more tenants, and which will give us the ability to look at the previous passing percentage and the current passing percentage values. This is a lab BPA report. For some reason, I'm not able to see the score here, but you should be able to see if you run a Prisma Access BPA report. The other option we did give in the global filters is we can select the type of deployment, which is remote networks or mobile users, and just focus on adoption for mobile users and its use cases. Maybe we have a combination of remote networks and mobile users, and we just want to focus the BPA report for adoption and feature adoption, security best practice checks, and so on, just for mobile users. And we can just select that, and a combination of mobile users and with one or more tenants. And in this case, tenant 10 does not have any mobile users, and that's why we don't see any results, and so on, right? So basically, it's a combination. The purpose here is fundamentally to go as granular as possible and measure the improvement, progress, or the unexpected changes from global admins across the world, and take necessary actions with visibility made available now. Khurram, any thoughts, questions with the, I think I covered the relevant areas which we walked through.
Sure. Thank you. Let's move back to our presentation then.
Sure. I can pass it on to you.
Yep, you can stop here. Thank you. Thanks, Umshod. Here I will hand over to our Senior Customer Success Manager, Anil, who will walk you through some of the live community resources and we'll talk about our 2.0 updates. Over to you, Anil.
Thanks very much. Thanks, everyone, for hanging in there. I'm going to close out, as Khurram said, with a few minutes on some resources that you've got on live community. But first, wanted to thank Khurram and Samshod for a great walkthrough on the best practice assessment here for Prisma Access. This really is a kind of a game changer for us, and we hope that you can benefit from it because it allows you to start looking at your security posture and profile from a configuration of the Prisma Access standpoint, and really gives you a lot of information. All the content that Samshod and Khurram covered is available on live community, as you keep on hearing me say, and we'll give you the links to this content as well. And if you can go to the next slide, my call to action here is please go use the information you've gathered here and run the Prisma Access BPA report today. Generate a tech support file, assign the BPA user role in the CSP, generate and download the Prisma Access BPA report, and you're off and running. You'll start seeing the data and start getting a view of your security profile. Finally, want to emphasize that we are here to help you interpret and understand those findings and help you prioritize them. So please do make an appointment. Let us know, discuss your BPA related questions at an upcoming office hours session. We'd be happy to allot some time for you. Reach out to us through the PAC Success email that you know. All right, let's transition to upgrading to Prisma Access 2.0. This is upon us, folks. All of you I've looked at the attendees here, and everyone in this, if we can go to the next slide, is up against the upgrade in the next month or so. So key features that'll be coming to you, the aggregate bandwidth, managing your aggregate remote network bandwidth at an aggregate level is a huge feature that's been in demand. Improvements in performance in the branch office and service connection, as well as the ability to pre-allocate egress IPs for onboarding new mobile user gateways. As mentioned every week, we continue our growth across the globe with new compute locations in Japan, new wildfire regions in the UK, and new Cortex data lake regions in Canada, Japan, Australia, and Singapore. Finally, with 2.0 preferred, you have the ability to schedule your reports from your Panorama for Prisma Access. So that's a much demanded feature. And all this content is also available to you on live community, including we've got a blog. We've just had a huge launch of the Prisma Access 2.0 release. So there's a lot of content out there that our customers can take advantage of. If we can go to the next slide, and most importantly, we've introduced some new content here, and that's Prisma Access 2.0 upgrade. We are here to help, right? So as the name implies of this page on our live community, it's got a great link to a release FAQ that I'm going to take you through really quickly. It's got a configuration verification checklist that you can use to assess your environment and your readiness for the upgrade, as well as understand what's coming in the upgrade with release notes. If we can go to the next slide, the release FAQ is particularly important because it provides our customers with real-time information. So this thing is updated as we speak, as any new information arises. And of course, it's not going to change at this point, but what's in the new cloud services plugin, which are the Panorama and Global Protect versions that are supported. This is all the content that's up here and kept up to date, as well as if we can go to the next slide, the upgrade schedules. So things that you've heard us talk about on these sessions is, get notified by staying subscribe to updates from the Palo Alto status page. This is the status page that provides information across all our products and for all our customers. So please subscribe to updates there. In addition, Insights, Prisma Access Insights is what gives you your tenant and your Prisma Access specific upgrade information. So this is where it's very important that you need to be paying attention and subscribe to notifications so that you can click on that link when it appears, and that will take you to this screen, which will allow you to schedule the time of your upgrade and walk you through that process. And then finally, once you've got your upgrade scheduled, 21 days before, you'll get notified. 3 days before, you'll get reminded again that your upgrade is coming. And then finally, as the upgrade processes, you'll be kept up to date. Very important. Mention this every week and can't emphasize it enough. Please do update your allow list as part of the upgrade process. Active and reserved public IPs must be whitelisted in your third-party and SaaS applications. I'm sure you all know the importance of that. And if you, along the way, run into any issues, please do use our world-class customer support team and open a ticket through the customer support portal. With that, we'll get to your questions and answers. We want to make a final reminder that this Friday, we've got another office hour session coming up. So please do enroll for that. And we'd love to see you and answer any questions you've got about the BPA, about the upgrade, or anything else that's on top of mind from a Prisma Access standpoint. Also, do let us know through the survey any interest and feedback that you'd like. Coming up, we've got the last in our 4-part series on getting started with Prisma Access. This one focuses on remote networks and branch offices and how to configure and stand that up. That's going to be followed by a deep dive on Prisma Access Insights. So recently, we had a very well-attended and very successful webinar on Prisma Access Insights, and this is going to be the follow-up that takes you a little bit deeper into that tool and shows you some behind the scenes and some live demo action into Prisma Access Insights. With that, panelists, I'll open it up for questions. I hope folks have been asking questions in the Q&A, and I hope some show then our panel of experts have been answering them.
Yeah, so there's actually a couple of questions, and thanks again, guys. So let me start with a general BPA question before we get to the 2.0 questions. So this is for anyone to answer here. How often should a BPA report be generated? Would it be advisable monthly, quarterly? What is the recommended approach there?
Shamshodh, can you take this?
Yeah, I can. So we've seen, various types of customers. I can say that I've seen customers doing once quarterly to align with the business. We have seen customers doing every month. That's because they're constantly working on projects and they want to, run the BPA reports often and see the progress and, accordingly shift the direction. We've also seen customers running every day, being laser focused with either through BPA through customer support portal or using it through BPA API, and API is much smoother. The reason is they want to do more often, and that's the reason why they select the API option. And basically, it's also you don't need to generate TSF. It's basically running a set of API queries and process it. So we've seen all types of customers. I can say a month and 3 months is very normal.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, so I definitely would agree with that. Very fluid depending on the customer's use case, business case. Yeah, makes sense. Okay, so there's a couple 2.0 questions. I know our rockstar Farman is addressing one of them as we speak, but let me just go ahead and open it up to the panel here. Will Prisma be upgraded to 2.0 by Palo Alto on the back end, or do we need to request the update?
No, you don't need to request the update. On a given schedule, you will be updated, your backend will be updated by the Palo Alto networks, the Prisma Access. And then plugin 2.0 plugin will be released to you, and you need to update and download and install the 2.0 plugin into your Panorama.
Yeah, and if I can elaborate on that. So the process here will be that you will be notified through Prisma Access Insights 21 days in advance of your upgrade date. So what's going to be important for you is to subscribe to and look for those notifications in Prisma Access Insights, because that's when you'll be, and that's where you will be notified of the upgrade date for your particular tenant. Once you're provided with that date, you'll be able to choose some time windows within that date, and the first of your Prisma Access locations will be upgraded on that selected time and date. And then there'll be a period of close monitoring followed by an up.
Yeah, so as Anil mentioned, that it is be followed by we will select your location, and at a given time or schedule you pick, your location will be updated and it will monitor over the period of 7 days. If everything goes well, your rest of the locations will be updated, and a 2.0 plugin will be released to you, and you can download and install in your Panorama. So Prisma Access Insights alerts, keep looking for that. As soon as you see the banners in your Prisma Access Insights, register and pick up your window from the given slots available, and location you want to update you first, and then monitor for the 7 days.
All right. Thanks, Khurram. Thanks, Anil. That question was from Travis. So Travis, let us know if that fully helps your question. And if there's any follow-ups, definitely let us know. In the meanwhile, guys, there's one more question here, 2.0 related, from Stephen. What is the timeline for Prisma 2.0 to support inbound access?
Inbound access for?
So this is probably secure inbound access.
Sorry, I missed.
This is secure inbound access, if I was to guess, Khurram. I think it is actually, if not in the 2.0 release, it's in the 2.1 release. But Stephen, we do need to check on that if you do.
Yep.
None of our panelists have the answer right off the hand.
Yeah, we need to check with what is the roadmap for the upcoming release.
Excellent, guys. Yep. So Stephen, we'll check back with you on that, and we'll update the folks here as well. There's another question from Gary. Will the 2.0 plugin be released after the initial upgrade and monitoring period, or after all locations are updated?
No, it will be released once all locations will be upgraded in the backend.
Excellent. So yeah, once again, that question was from Gary. Gary, hopefully that helps answer your questions. Looks like we've gotten through all the questions here. Stephen, yes, great. Hopefully that helps. And thanks again, Travis, as well. Thanks again, everyone. So I'll turn it back to you, Anil or Khurram, but that's all the questions for now.
Well, great questions all. So folks, please feel free to ask any more that you have on mind. Otherwise, as mentioned earlier, please do register and sign up for our office hours. We'd love to see you there on Friday and answer any questions you've got. We're here for you. So please do use us as your resources. All right. And we have posted the links to all the content that was mentioned in the chat session, but you'll also see those in the post webinar email that we send out. So folks, thank you again for joining us today. Hope to see you at an office hours or the next webinar. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.